Hello and welcome to Hekate Today, the podcast about Hecate and witchcraft in a modern and urban context, with your host Jade Alcesty, a modern Hecatean witch living in North London, UK. First, I want to apologise. I realise this is coming out a couple of days after the dark moon. The reason is I am a witch living with a disability, which means that from time to time I do need to be a bit flexible with my scheduling, as some days I'm a lot less well than others. Disability and witchcraft is a topic I will likely return to in future episodes, but for now just be aware that from time to time episodes may not come out exactly when I had planned to bring them out. Before we get started on this episode's topic, I have some potentially exciting news. For a future full moon episode, I am hoping to collaborate on an episode on Hekate and divination and tarot with an incredibly talented witch that I have the pleasure of knowing, and I hope to bring you more news on this shortly. So this week I want to look at Hekate and her reputation as a dark goddess. Hekate is often referred to as the Dark Mother, a dark goddess, a chthonic goddess, and I think this is how she's primarily seen within witchcraft and in popular culture. It's my view that Hekate is a dark goddess, but this is not all she is. Many of her epithets suggest that she does have a bright and light side, and in her mythology we're told that she has dominion over the heavens, earth and underworld. She is also sometimes referred to as the world soul and source of all souls, so I don't think that she can be pigeonholed as only a dark goddess. And yet it is the case that she does have this underworld chthonic aspect, and it's this aspect I want to talk to you about today. I want to look at what does the term dark really mean in the context of deity, and what working with a dark goddess might mean to witches. In modern society, when we refer to something as dark, we might mean something is somewhat macabre or scary. We refer to dark humour, which is your classic gallows humour and dealing with topics of bleakness and difficulty. If we refer to a film or TV show as being dark, we might mean that it's a horror show dealing with adult themes. A dark mood might refer to someone who is feeling sad or potentially angry, and a dark day is stormy, overcast and grim. So why then, as witches, might we want to invite this kind of energy into our life if it's so intimidating and scary and oppressive? Personally, I think the descriptor dark gets a bad rap, and I think it's not only a desirable energy to work with, but a necessary energy to become comfortable with as a witch. In witchcraft, there's often a focus on manifestation. We might cast spells to bring our desires into being or attract things towards us. We might want to bring love into our lives, or money, or a good job. We might want to manifest security in our lives, or good health. It is my belief that in order to manifest successfully, we must also know how to destroy. Nature cannot function with growth alone. We need things to die to clear space for new growth. We need things to die to fertilize and nourish the earth in order to promote new growth. When we wish to manifest something into our life, we need to understand what we need to clear away in order to make room for that. If we wish to work magic for good health, we may first need to work magic to banish poor health. If we wish to work magic to bring healthy, successful love into our lives, we may first need to banish our problematic patterns and beliefs around relationships which cause us to choose unsatisfactory partners or to repel love opportunities from us. If we wish to attract prosperity, we may first need to look at what is repelling prosperity from us in the first place. Now, I want to be very careful not to stray into the realms of toxic positivity here. I am not saying if someone is financially disadvantaged, finds it hard to operate in relationships or trust in relationships, or is ill, it is their fault or result of problematic beliefs. Sometimes the issues may be working on a higher social level. It is difficult, for example, for a woman to have an equal relationship with a man in a patriarchal society. It is difficult for everyone to be prosperous in a society that has inherent inequalities between classes, genders, races, levels of ability and sexualities. It is difficult for everyone to have an equal opportunity for health in a system where not everyone has access to adequate healthcare, to adequate funds to be able to make the choices that promote health, such as buying fresh, healthy food, or joining a gym, or even having time to take care of their bodies properly around the extreme hours of work some people need in order to make ends meet. I think it's important to recognise currently there are homeless people in full-time work. So when I say it is important to understand what needs to be cleared and banished in order to bring things that are desirable into your life, I do not simply mean personal factors relating to your own beliefs and behaviours. I mean the whole spectrum of factors which may have led to you being in a situation where you do not have the things that you need or desire. There are often a lot more things that need to be banished, bound, and taken care of before manifestation and attraction can occur. In this case, manifestation and attraction are actually the simpler form of magic. Therefore, in order to achieve the things we want to achieve through our witchcraft, we have to have a very, very good understanding of destruction magic and how that works. Working closely with a dark deity and bringing this dark energy into our life can teach us important lessons and give us a deep understanding of destruction magic and methods of destruction, banishing and binding that which stands in the way of our manifestation magic. Furthermore, life, unfortunately, is not all happiness, sunshine and light. We all deal with loss and grief. This is a universal experience. Whether we have lost someone close to us in bereavement, be it a family member, friend, associate or pet, whether we have lost a home or a job, an aspect of our identity or health. For me, myself, I lost many of these things when I became disabled. I lost not only my career, but my identity as an abled person, my financial security, and many of my friends, colleagues, my routines, and the life I knew. We can experience many different types and levels of loss throughout our lives, and very few of us have not experienced some form of grief. Working with a dark chthonic deity can help us to learn to navigate loss to understand grief, if we attempt to simply engage with optimistic thinking and do not give due time to our darker, more unpleasant, more uncomfortable emotions, then we do not properly work through grief, and this can cause us problems on a psychological level throughout our lifetime. This is the magic of knowing and understanding the dark. Hekate, as a chthonic goddess, is the lady of the lamp, the bearer of torches, and a psychopomp, one who helps us navigate the underworld and darkness. Hekate does not expect us to walk through the darkness blind, without light, without guidance, but she does expect us to learn and understand and know the darkness. To be a witch while ignoring the dark, without learning about and understanding dark sonic energies, is to be a witch without a map, is to be a witch without a torch. It is to be lost in the underground caves of our own souls. This is dangerous. When navigating the darker aspects of life that we all must face, dark and chthonic deities bid us not to go alone. They bid us not to go without some light to guide our way. The dark is also very much associated with the divine feminine. In classic Western witchcraft, we view solar energies as masculine and lunar energies as feminine. I don't necessarily subscribe to this view, but I understand the thinking around it. The darkness, lunar, is pulling, attracting, absorbing, surrendering. The more active, bright masculine energies are active, repulsing, chasing, hunting. Personally, I think the feminine encompasses all of those things. I think the masculine also encompasses all of these things. But I believe each individual, regardless of their gender identity, can benefit from being able to be comfortable with all these modes of being. Sometimes we need to fight, sometimes we need to surrender. Surrender is also acceptance. Some things in our lives we cannot change with any amount of power or trying or witchcraft, intelligence or skill. Some things simply cannot be changed. And our only option here is to work on acceptance. And this is the divine energy of the darkness. We often value fighting above acceptance. There are some issues in how we view disability, with people who fight their disability and overcome it as being held up as inspirational, when actually, for many disabled people, learning to live alongside their disability or illness, not fighting it, accepting its limitations, is what will lead to the most well and beneficial and fulfilled life for them. Let me say this clearly. Divine surrender and acceptance is as much of a heroic act as divine warrioring or fighting. It is also often the much harder act, and working with a dark deity can help us when we need to approach a situation and meet it with divine surrender. The dark and the underworld also corresponds to our subconscious. It is our subconscious and intuition, which is the seat of any psychic abilities we may have or develop. Divination is in the realms of the subconscious, and this I hope to expand upon more in the collaborative episode that I mentioned earlier. Having a close relationship with a dark or chthonic deity is akin to having a close relationship with our own subconscious and our own inner underworld. Having this mode of communication open to us will benefit us incredibly if we wish to develop skills with divination, psychic powers, if we work with spirits and the dead, if we work with pendulums or runes or spirit boards, if we're clairvoyant or clairsentient or clairaudient or any of the other clairs, I believe that we will very much grow in these abilities through our relationship with dark deities. And lastly, going back to the metaphor of travelling the underground caves without a map or a torch, is mastery over our own shadow self. Our shadow self is made up of our traumas, of our fears, of the resentments we've held on to, of the self-defeating and self-destructive patterns that we have developed throughout life. We should not blame ourselves for developing these things. Life is often traumatic and brutal, and very few get through it completely unscathed. However, it is by understanding and mastering our shadow self, learning to live with it, learning to understand it, and learning to change it if necessary, is how we become more balanced, powerful witches. We should not cast magic without a thorough examination of our own motivations, and unless we know and understand our shadow self, we cannot fully know our own motivations. It's not safe to simply cast magic in the height of strong emotion or in reactionary anger. This is the times when magic goes wrong. This is the times when magic backfires and we haven't fully thought through why we're doing a thing, or we don't fully understand why we're doing a thing. We're just acting. And working with a dark deity such as Hekate can help us with understanding our shadow selves and therefore making clear decisions both about magic and within our mundane lives. And this can increase our power as witches and can help us cast more focused, well-planned, well-thought-out, more powerful magic. I hope this episode has given you some insight as to why it may be a good idea to work with a dark deity. If you're already a practicing Hecatean witch, I hope it has maybe given you some ideas as to how you can call on Hekate to help you in areas of your life. And if you're not, and just maybe thinking about beginning to work with Hekate or another dark deity, I hope this has provided you with some reassurance that working with dark or chthonic deities can be beneficial and not necessarily scary. It's not necessarily inviting something into your life that you wouldn't desire. It's inviting something into your life that is necessary and can help you better navigate those things that will happen to you anyway throughout your life. I wish to close with the final stanza of this ancient prayer found on the Greek magical papyri and translated, which I have covered the first two parts of in previous podcasts. I offer you this incense, child of Zeus, arrow shooter, heavenly one, goddess of harbours, mountain roamer, goddess of crossroads, nocturnal one of the underworld, shadowy one of Hades, still one who frightens, having a feast among the graves. You are night, darkness, and broad chaos. For you are necessity, hard to escape. You are fate. You are Irenaeus, and the torture. You are murderous, and justice. You hold Cerberus in chains. You are steely blue with serpent scales, O serpent-haired and serpent-girdled one. Blood drinker, death bringer who breathes corruption, feaster on hearts, flesh eater who devours those who died before their time, grave resounder, driver to the wanderings of madness. Come to my sacrifices and fulfill this task for me. Hail Hekate. If you have enjoyed this episode and want to read more about modern Hecatean witchcraft, you can visit my blog at www.hecateswheel.home.blog. And if you would like to support my work and pick yourself up some witchy gear, including handmade pagan prayer beads, you can visit my Etsy store at www.etsy.com/UK/shop/bath book and candle. You can also follow me on Twitter, and that is at StrophulosR. That is at STROPHALOSR. Or follow my store at Bath Book Candle on Twitter. Thank you for listening, and I will see you during the full moon.